Good afternoon or good evening, everyone, depending on where you are joining us from, and welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening to celebrate the official launch of Black in School by Habiba Cooper Diallo. My name is Elsa, and I'm the Interim Director of University of Regina Press. We'll start the event shortly, but before we do, I would like to acknowledge the land that we work on at the University of Regina Press and the importance of our treaty relationship to our existence here and to the press's mission to be a voice for many peoples. University of Regina Press is located on Treaty 4 territory, the traditional lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota nations, and the homeland of the Métis people. Now, as with any event, there's always a bit of housekeeping to address. Please note that audience microphones will be turned off for the duration of the event. And this event is live and is being simulcast to YouTube. So if you'd prefer not to have your face in a public video, please refrain from turning on your camera during the event. And now, tonight, we're happy to welcome Bianca Spence as this evening's guest moderator. I am just going to, sorry. There, I think that will allow me to continue now. Just hitting record. And now, tonight, we're happy to welcome Bianca Spence as this evening's guest moderator. As program consultant for book publishing at Ontario Creates, Bianca administers the Trillium Book Awards and other programs that support the economic development of Ontario's publishing industry. She has previously worked at the Canada Council for the Arts, Livre Canada Books, Cormorant Books, the Literary Press Group, and McClellan and Stewart. From 2017 to 2019, Bianca served as co-chair of the Women's March in Toronto, and she sits on the board of directors for Project Bookmark Canada. When not at work, you can find Bianca championing a number of important artistic endeavors, from literature to dance. Bianca will provide a short introduction to the book, which will be followed by a reading from Habiba and a Q&A session. Throughout the evening, we welcome you to participate in the discussion in the chat below. However, please be mindful that we strive to facilitate the safest possible space for our authors and guests. Please show kindness and respect to everyone in attendance. And finally, a reminder that you can purchase your copy of Black in School by visiting adifferentbooklist.com. A link to the book will also be provided in the chat. And now I'm very pleased to turn the floor over to Bianca Spence.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. It's great to be here. This is live, so I feel like I should warn you, a cat might come upstairs. His name is Lowell. He loves this book too. Tonight, we're here to celebrate the launch of Black in School by Habiba Cooper Diallo. I'd like to take a minute to tell you a little bit about the book first. So Black in School is Habiba Cooper Diallo's high school journal in which she documents, processes, and resists the systemic racism, microaggressions, stereotypes, and outright racism she experienced while being Black in school in Canada. Powerful and eye-opening, Cooper Diallo illustrates how our schools reinforce rather than erode racism, the handcuffing and frisking of students of color by police at school, one-dimensional tokenistic curricula portraying Black people, and the constant barrage of overt racism from students and staff alike. She shows how systemic racism works, how it alienates and seeks to destroy a child's sense of self. She shows how our institutions work to erase the lived experiences of Black youth and try to erase Black youth themselves. Cooper Diallo's words will resonate with some, but should shock, appall, and animate a great many more into action towards a society that is truly equitable for all. For myself, this was a book that I could really personally relate to in many ways. But even more importantly, I think it's going to serve as a real primary source for researchers, for educators, for many years to come, as well as for students and parents and community members alike. Before I turn the floor over to Habiba to say some remarks and do a brief reading from her work, let me tell you a bit about this woman of the hour. So Habiba was a finalist for the 2020 Bristol Short Story Prize, the 2019 Writers Union of Canada Short Prose Competition, and the 2018 London Book Fair Pitch Competition. She's an advocate for women's health. She is a tremendously gifted storyteller, and Habiba lives in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So congratulations and welcome, Habiba. I'm going to turn things over to you for a little while.
Oh, there I am. Thank you so much, Bianca. It's a pleasure to join you all tonight. I'm so excited for this virtual book launch and to have published my book, Black in School. I'm going to do a short reading for all of you. And before I do so, I'd just like to thank some people. So I'd really like to thank the press, everyone from University of Regina Press, as well as Bruce Walsh. I'd like to thank Kelly Jo Burke. I'd also like to thank everyone from ZG Stories, so Nicole, Lohit, Sarah, Zoe, for just all their dedication to this. And of course, everyone who's just held me through this journey, my friends, my family, my friend Betty El Tesfu, I think she's on the call. Thanks to her for just being a true friend. And then finally, of course, I want to thank my family, my sister, Lamarana, who's on the call, and also my mom. All thanks go to her. I actually dedicate this night to her because she's just been phenomenal, and she's honestly the reason I'm able to be here this evening sharing with you all. Wow, okay. And of course to Almighty God. Thank you, God, for this opportunity. So I'm about to begin. This chapter is entitled Black in School, Autumn 2012. I am a Black student in Canada. April 6th will mark my 17th birthday and my 13th year in school. This is April 6, 2013, by the way. I am becoming increasingly aware. 2 years ago, in the 9th grade, I recall walking down a hallway to attend a school newspaper meeting when I was struck by what I consider to be an extremely disturbing image of Black bodies on the wall. As part of an assignment, students had posted a photograph from the 1984 Ethiopian famine. The bodies depicted were naked, dark, gaunt, and shown to be crawling. I was horrified, humiliated, and indignant all at once. I quickly went to the school's administration to express my discontent with the photograph. It was removed from the wall the next day. Still, I asked myself, why was I the one to bring the image to the attention of the administration? Had the students who worked on the assignment not been able to see how degrading the image was and assess the impact it would have on Ethiopian children in the school or on other Blacks and Africans for that matter? Why had the teachers not analyzed the image? Finally, and it is shameful that I must even consider this point, as passersby, why hadn't other staff found the image problematic? And if they had indeed found it problematic, why had they neglected to express that sentiment? Such experiences are commonplace for Black students. They are incessant in elementary, through high school, and beyond. That is, if we are not too discouraged to pursue higher education. Our humanity, it seems, is continually eroded. We experience this through CONI 2012 assemblies, in which we are shown videos of slaughtered Black bodies, decapitated and severed. We experience this in the classroom when all the presentations pertaining to Africa harp on the Gothic features of the continent, the perpetual tribal warfare, famine, and disease, or when entering school in the morning and being assaulted by a student's voice. The worst countries to live in are Uganda, Sudan, and Congo. If you walk into one of those places, you'll just die. How is it that such a one-sided story of Blackness and Africa takes precedence? What does it do to one's spirit when one's humanity is constantly under attack? when the academy, intentionally or not, perpetuates the idea of her subhumanity, when the content of her origin is reduced to 2 or 3 high conflict countries, and when the leaders of those countries are belittled. Most importantly, what does this do to this young Black body? Every night on returning home, I turn to my diary, an outlet for the release of negative sentiments which lodge themselves in my body throughout the day. Or I immerse myself in dance as a way to recharge my spirit by connecting with one of the most intimate aspects of my personhood, my culture, something which is denied to me as well as the masses of other Black students in high school. So that's the introductory chapter. And now I'm going to read another one, which is entitled High School and the Black Body. This is from November 15th, 2012. High school hurts the Black body. High school is hard enough on any young body. All students grapple with stress, lack of sleep, lugging heavy textbooks through icy Canadian winters, up and down stairs, and regular teen angst. But there is a whole other layer of constant and in some ways unseen violence that is done to young Black bodies in high school that needs to be recognized. Because Black students must also deal with the racial stresses involved in going to school. During the lunch hour, a student quite often remarks, and I heard it so many times that it's sickening, don't waste your food because there are starving children in Africa who would be grateful for it. Or there are places in the world, like Africa, where children cannot go to school. So be thankful that you're getting an education. Africa has become a kind of punctuation in our sentences, inserted wherever conscience and empathy is concerned. Though is the impetus for these catchphrases about Africa really empathy when students who self-identify as African contradict the notions of an impoverished and needy Africa? Eventually, these statements take on the form of violence, epistemic violence, rendering the acquisition of knowledge difficult for the Black student. How is one to concentrate on a chemistry lesson or a biology assignment after being told that Africans, like herself, cannot go to school? High school stigmatizes the Black body. At my school, I recently witnessed the arrest of a Black student. Prior to the incident, 2 officers were interrogating him and his non-Black friend on school property. The latter was escorted back inside the school, while the former was kept outside for further interrogation. I continued to watch through the window. The officers soon began to search him, clearly unable to find anything worthy of arrest. She persisted nonetheless, and in doing so, provoked him, for he became frantic, kicking off his shoes and waving his arms as he proclaimed his innocence. The officer was unrelenting. Within seconds, his chest was pressed against the side of the car, his back to me, and his hands cuffed. Adding insult to injury, a student adjacent to me, having also witnessed the arrest, remarked, "He knows the drill." I could feel my heart sink, and soon the tears began to flow, a physical manifestation of the impact of high school on the Black body, as he was driven away, coerced away from an education, from school that we are told is the most essential component of a student's success in the future. We are told that school is a safe and healthy place. Given all that, how can it coexist with legal, police-authorized coercion away from learning? High school hinders the Black body. The bell rang exactly 9 minutes after the arrest. Shattered and demoralized as I was, I still had to report to my 4th period biology class. I had to fulfill my academic responsibility. High school nullifies the Black body. In spite of the major contributions Blacks have made and continue to make to Canadian society, and more obviously our sheer presence in the country, in school there is an erasure of the histories and contemporary experiences of Blacks in Canada. During Remembrance Day ceremonies, why don't we remember the Black veterans of World War I from Nova Scotia's No. 2 Construction Battalion? I often look through my textbooks, history, chemistry, and biology, just to name a few, and countless prominent political figures to those who are victims of war, inadequate healthcare, famine, and political instability. The former are usually images of white people, while the latter, people of color, typically Blacks. How does the erasing of the Black experience and ultimately the suppression of Black students nullify the Black body? The first strike is psychological. Black students' consciousness of the lack of recognition for the Black experience. This is followed by an emotional response, dejection and apathy towards school, as there is no relevance to the experience for Black students as human beings. Finally, the Black student goes into a state of corporeal shock, questioning the significance of her hair, her skin, her features, and fundamentally her body in a system that suppresses the expression of her humanity. This next chapter is called That English Class Was Effed, and this is from April 23rd, 2013. I get it. I get why Black students drop out. It's the sheer violence we're subjected to every day. I was just in the school washroom and I overheard someone in the stall next to me say, "That English class was effed. She always goes on a tangent about Black people. I know racism exists, but there are other things to do." I interrupted and told her that maybe she should take a minute and listen to her teacher's tangents, because for someone like myself who experiences racism every day, at school and outside of school, more than going off on a tangent in English class is necessary to even begin talking about racism. She simply stared at me and listened without saying anything. I'm happy I said something, for I think it made her reflect. Oh my God, I feel like a knife has pierced my abdomen. Sickening. Hashtag high school and the Black body. The chilling thing is that every day be like this. It is one thing to can have huge emotional with all of you before I hand things over to Bianca. Sorry, just bear with me. I have everything nicely bookmarked. Okay. Oh, I just got a message that my sound is dropping. Can everyone hear me all right?
I can hear you fine right now. You did cut out for a little bit during the last excerpt that you were reading. So there's still time. Keep going.
Keep going. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. If there are any issues, just stop me, please. Okay. So this final chapter I'll share with you is called I'm Dande. Our education system does not benefit Black students. It does not help us self-actualize. On the contrary, it is often an impediment to our self-actualization and a denial of our potential. When people see the phrase Black body, they conjure up all sorts of racist and unpalatable stereotypes and rhetoric about Black people. The fact that that is the first place dominant culture's imagination goes when thinking of Black people compromises our self-worth and puts us in a constant state of combat, fighting to reassert our humanity. High school is not merely a slew of ideologies etched into textbooks. It is a deeply soulful experience, one that requires a Black student to continually self-reflect on who she is and where her identity rests in an environment that invalidates her practices and her cultural values. In an institution where her life experiences are perpetually portrayed as primitive, backward, hypersexual, and inferior, where her mere existence is a challenge to the physical spaces like hallways and classrooms that she may occupy throughout the day, and where her humanity is perpetually under critical examination, but through a superficial and selective lens. Nonetheless, my time spent in high school was bittersweet. Over the 4 years, I had some of the most amazing opportunities to study abroad and participate in science camps, academic summer programs, and leadership summits, all while forming friendships with very talented and warm-spirited individuals. Many of those opportunities stemmed from my founding of a nonprofit organization called the Women's Health Organization International, WHOI, which I established in grade 10 to put an end to a maternal health condition called obstetric fistula. But the context in which those great and sweet experiences occurred need not have been so bitter. How do we then put an end to this cycle of racism toward Black students so that the bodies of the future generations of Black students will not be hurt, stigmatized, and nullified in high school? I leave the Black students reading this book with a challenge to ensure that you make your voices heard, that you do not compromise your personal and cultural values for the happiness of someone else or of an institution. You might argue that taking a stand against systemic institutionalized racism requires too much energy and effort that you would rather channel into achieving a 4.0 GPA. But ask yourself this: at what cost to your mental and emotional health will you attain that 4.0? And I leave the white and white influenced educators with this challenge. It is critical that educators, administrators, and curriculum consultants design programs that are reflective of the experiences of Blacks in Canada. This could mean integrating texts such as Sharon G. Flake's The Skin I'm In or Unbowed, a memoir by Nobel laureate Wangari Maathai, into the curriculum, or having students listen to Isaac Saney or bell hooks at school assemblies, not limited to Black History Month, and designing work on Imhotep's contributions to philosophy, medicine, and mathematics, and Hatshepsut's various expeditions to Punt and Byblos. The experiences of Black should be normalized to the same extent as those of white people. A solely white and Eurocentric approach to education can no longer be sustained if we are to ensure the success and academic excellence of Black and of all students. Because white and Eurocentric students who come out of school without their prejudice and ignorance challenged have been equally failed by the system. The Eurocentric approach to education reinforces ideas of white supremacy and promotes the marginalization of Black people. Is there such a thing as academic responsibility when one's human rights are violated? Several articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights are relevant to the analysis of the impact of high school on the Black body. Article 1 and 3 affirm the equality and security of person granted all human beings and is rescinded for Black students. I'm just going to continue. I'm almost done here, if that's all right.
It's totally fine.
And social security and his or her rights indispensable.
Thank you, everybody, for your patience. I think we're just going to check and see what the connection is like for Habiba right now. I'm going to take a moment just to remind you all that we are here to celebrate this great book, Black in School. There is a link in the chat. If you haven't already ordered your copy, the bookstore that we're partnering with is A Different Booklist, one of my favorites. Aita and her team do great, great things. So please make sure to pick up your copy. I can see Habiba back on screen, but I'm not sure if we've got her back on audio. Okay. Oh, I'm seeing her. I think this is also a chance for me just to tell folks, I see there's folks here from Jamaica and all over the world. This is wonderful. Habiba, are you back?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Okay. Can you hear me? I'm back. Can you hear me? Put headphones.
I can see you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm just gonna wrap up this chapter. Here we
Okay.
go.
Yeah.
Hence, there is a need for parents of Black students to exercise their political power and agitate for the realization of these rights in the educational system. In what other ways can we exercise these rights in light of the multifaceted erosion of the humanity of Black students and the repression of our bodies? The answer might lie in filing a class action lawsuit to disclose and also generate concern for the injustices done to Black students on a national and legal level. I am pleased that in 2018, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau acknowledged anti-Black racism and unconscious bias in Canada, because it is time to do so, and Black Canadians are citizens too. Though what I would like to see is the anti-Black racism of which Prime Minister Trudeau speaks being addressed at the level of primary and secondary education in Canada. Education is transformative, and the power to change society lies within it. Well, I guess I can stop writing now. I'm done high school. This Black body, spiritual, intellectual, physical, and emotional, is out of it. Let me take a minute now to rejoice. Saludo! University, I'm coming with a bang. In his speech at the founding of the Organization of Afro-American Unity in 1964, Malcolm X said that we need to declare our rights to be respected as human beings on this earth and claim the rights of human beings in society by any means necessary. We need to remember that for far too long, high school has hurt the Black body. It is time not only to struggle against this phenomenon, but also to abolish it once and for all. This is no wishful thinking. This is willful thinking. For she who hope, tell, the journey has begun. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Habiba. That was really, really wonderful. And congratulations again. I'm not sure if anybody wants to turn on their cameras and just give Habiba a round of applause, thumbs up, anything like that. But by all means, please. Yeah, I'm seeing some hearts. I'm seeing some applause. This is the best way we can make things as interactive as we possibly can. So we've got people, it looks like, from all over the world. Amazing. A testament to your reach, Habiba. As I said before, I wanted to remind everybody to please make sure to buy a copy of this great book, Black in School. You can buy it from our bookseller that we're partnering up with, A Different Booklist. As well, I'm going to ask a few questions of Habiba right now, but I don't want to be the only one asking questions. So please make sure to put some of your questions in the chat window, and I will dip in there and get to them in bits and pieces throughout the discussion. Habiba, can you hear me okay? I think you're muted.
Yes, I can hear you okay. I had someone had to permit me to unmute myself.
Okay.
I can hear you okay.
Terrific. All right. So I have a diary. And my diary is private, secret. If anybody read it, I think I would just curl up into a ball and crawl away. Why did you decide to publish yours?
You know, I decided to publish it because I knew it would resonate with so many people. It was honestly one of the hardest things I had to do in my life, and it's still quite hard as I come out here and share it with the world. But I really felt it could make a difference, and I felt it was time. And across the world, we've seen so much happening. We've witnessed brutal, tragic events like the murder of George Floyd, of so many. There's so many names, may they all rest peacefully, of Black people just murdered innocently, cold blood on the street. And we saw the response to the murder of George Floyd from across the world, and not only from Black communities, but from everyone.
Yes.
So everyone is fed up, regardless of their race. Everyone, most people right now, they want change. They want us to do things differently. They want to know, what's the solution? How can we have a truly inclusive, harmonious, and peaceful society for everyone? We're all one. Ultimately, as humanity, we're all one blood, So I guess this sort of wave and the energy that's on the planet now has empowered me and encouraged me to share it with the world. So that's why.
It's great. I mean, reading this, one of the things that really stood out for me was just your incredible bravery in sticking up for yourself and speaking up in what were some really, really difficult situations. Were you alone? Did you have peers that were doing the same thing?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So there's a chapter in the book, and it's called "The Worst Countries to Live in" or Uganda, Sudan, Congo. That's the name of the chapter. And after that event at the school, and then I went to express my frustration to one of the vice principals, and she told me, she said, there are two other students who came to me to express their frustration too. And she said, those students, they're from Uganda, Sudan. So when I heard that, I said, oh, so I'm not alone. It feels good not to be alone, So it showed that other students were were quite upset by the movie we had watched. So in that sense, it seems that other students, where they could and where they felt empowered to, I think that's key, would do things. But apart from that, I was alone, on a day-to-day, because each student or each Black student is in his or her own class. We're in different classrooms sometimes, different grade levels. So many times when you talk about, say, the day-to-day experience and the day-to-day microaggressions, when you're sitting in the classroom, when you're in a group, when placed in certain groups by your teacher, you're alone. We are oftentimes alone to lead this fight, to carry this struggle. So yes and no to your question about whether I was alone.
Yeah, it sounds like you were alone together. Everybody was alone
together. Yes.
At the center of your book is, the Black body, the ways that it's policed, the ways that it's hypersexualized, the way that it's underestimated with regards to intelligence, all the ways that it's subject to microaggressions. And that obviously has a toll. Can you speak a little bit about that ongoing effect that this has on Black students in the Black body and how it can really affect student self-esteem?
Yes. And I'm so happy for that question, because in my final concluding chapter, I talk about that, and I just read it with everyone. When I say an institution where her life experiences are perpetually portrayed as primitive, backward, hypersexual, and inferior. And I feel that as Black people, this just follows us everywhere, whether it's high school, university, society, the workplace, the hypersexuality, the being seen as inferior. So many Black people will tell you, and I'm shocked by stories that I hear from my seniors, people who are older than I am, very professional people. They could be doctors, lawyers, they could be in academia, stories of, colleagues sending them inappropriate text messages, colleagues like trying to corner them in the staff room or something, basically saying, I don't want to say it, but basically like making very inappropriate sexual lewd remarks, and this is not okay, and some of it is from the media. We know how Black people are portrayed in many movies, mainstream movies. There are these tropes. There's like the baby mama trope, the ghetto queen, the welfare queen, all of these archetypes. There's the jailbird, the Black guy who's always in and out of jail, or who's selling drugs, or these kind of things. They're so damaging. And because media is so powerful, many people, white and non-white, other people of color, watching these things, when they see your average Black person, even in a professional context, say working in the bank or teaching in a classroom, those are still the ideas they associate with us. And then it doesn't help that Africa, which is the continent from which all Black people come, whether in recent history or in long ago history, it doesn't help that continent has just been so stigmatized and so degraded for centuries. And that still today, when we see images of Africa on the TV, it's commercials with babies, they have flies on their face. Yeah. This one is starving, emaciated, a
big distended belly. And
Exactly. And so that doesn't help either. That really doesn't help. And then you have Africans in the diaspora in these countries, and people think that we're coming from that. you know. And so in high school, you're also having to constantly challenge those ideas. And what does this do to the self-esteem of Black students? Oh my God, it just destroys. It kills their self-esteem. And this is one of the saddest things for me, that we live in a country that does everything to break and destroy the self-esteem of Black kids, to destroy their sense of self-worth. And it's just so, so sad. You know, I was lucky in the sense that I grew up in a household in which I was very affirmed. You know, my parents, they loved me very well. I was always encouraged. I was always told that I was beautiful, that I was smart. I did Sunday schools, I did Saturday schools, you know, cultural things. I went to an Afrocentric school for a good portion of my childhood as well. That helped. So in my home environment, I was very safe. It was a safe space. It was an encouraging space. But not all Black students have that in their home environment. And even for those who do have it in their home environment, as I had, when we go out into the world, it's something else. You know, all of that we've learned in our home environment is really put to the test. You know, can we keep up that self-esteem, that self-confidence that we've got from our home? So it does so much to the self-esteem and the sense of worth of Black kids. And it's heartbreaking. And I'm aggrieved to say this, but yeah, our society does everything to break down our self-esteem.
Yeah, just thinking about some of those stereotypes that you drew upon, one of the ones that I always think about is the angry Black woman, you know, who's got like the net going. Yes. And stuff. I'm, you know, confronted. Sorry, very, very physical there for a minute.
The net, I like that one. The net going. That was very good. Very good. Yeah.
When you're in some of those instances that you would be encountering, some of those experiences and the microaggressions and overt aggressions that you were dealing with, I'm thinking about that anger. How did you have that presence to sort of speak up for yourself, but also sort of maintain? Because it sounds so cool and collected and well reasoned and like the opposite of what this person who has underestimated you in so many ways would expect from you. Is that part of what you got from your parents, from your support networks?
Yeah, most definitely. I'd say it's what I got from my support networks. I'd say growing up, I've always been the meditative, prayerful type. It's helped that I have a regular spiritual practice. You know, even in high school, I was deeply spiritual. I prayed, you know, I'm Muslim, so we have this 5 times a day prayer built into our schedule. I did that all throughout high school. And I would say it just helped so much in terms of that calm that you speak of, that composure, you know, because you realize there's more to it. There's more than this moment of anger, of disappointment. There's way more. You know, I'm going to go home at the end of the day. When I get home, I will make myself a cup of tea. I will pray. I will put that behind me momentarily, you know. So I would say that's really where it came from. And then, of course, my mom, she's just phenomenal. Yeah. So for literally holding me all throughout, she's helped with that composure because she always knows how to speak reason into her children and to make us see a bigger picture, to really instill us with hope. She knows to talk to us in such a way that will just really carry us out of any gutter. Yeah, let me put it that way.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm seeing some questions start to come in. Keep them coming. I've got, you know, maybe 1 or 2 more to cover off. Also, again, I'm going to keep doing this to remind you to buy the book, Black in School. It does not come with Post-it notes, but you can put Post-it notes in it like I did whenever you see a great knowledge bomb that you don't want to forget getting your hands on. I just wanted to turn sort of to the future in a way and sort of blue sky and think a little bit about what would be your ideal vision for like social and emotional supports for Black students to be able to thrive in school?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so social supports. Definitely the teachers, they are the strategy, and the administrators, they are the strategy.
we often get asked these questions as Black people. I get it, you get it, I'm sure other people on the call get it. What are the strategies for ending racism, for improving the outcomes of Black students in school? No duh, the teachers are the strategy. They went to teachers college, they studied at OIZ for, they learned how to be teachers. We cannot expect the 10-year-old Black kid or the 16-year-old Black kid to show up to school with tools and strategies. That question, it gets me upset sometimes. I know that's not what you asked, but I'm just saying. That's one of the questions we get often. What are the strategies? Right. So I want teachers to know, educators to know they are the strategy. You have these kids coming into your classroom every day. Some of them aren't learning. Why is that? And they go and they sit in a classroom for 10 months of the year, 5 days of the week from about 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Why are they not learning? How come they get to grade 12, some of them, and it's just like nothing, no future. Some of them, they drop out before that. So anyway, my point is administrators, they have to do the learning. They have to realize that Black students are part of all of their students, and that it's not a favor to Black students when they make the space inclusive and anti-racist. You're not doing Black students a favor, but rather you're fulfilling your duty, you're fulfilling your obligation toward them by nurturing them, by honing their minds, by helping them self-actualize. This is a teacher's duty, and they have such an important obligation to these Black students, because out in society, as we've just spoken of, they're so stereotyped, they're so harassed, they're so racially profiled. White teachers or even other teachers in high schools, do they know what their Black male students have encountered on the way to school that morning, or when they leave school in the afternoon? The way they're stopped by police, the way they're harassed by the police. Think of what that does to their heart. I'm cutting out of the frame. Okay, sorry guys. I want this to be very good.
Take your time.
And can I get permission to unmute myself? Here. Anyway, it sounds like I'm good. Okay. So this duty in terms of social and academic supports, and I want administrators and trustees now to bring in training, critical anti-racism training for all of their staff. And this will trickle down to students. I want it to be a top-down approach, and it can't be a website or a brochure that staff are encouraged to look at when they have time. No, it has to be ongoing and immersive training that occurs over months, over years, where they bring in an expert consultant, where they use tools, because everyone likes the word tools such as my book, to learn what is the day-to-day experience, impact of this. And then now to go on to emotional supports and just wrap up this response. The emotional supports, let's lead with compassion. That's the first thing that jumps to mind. We know what the climate is for Black students and for Black people generally in this society. It is so hard, and no one can deny it anymore. No one can say we're complaining, we like to pull the race card. This is just rude and it's an insult. Our own Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, he's spoken out about anti-Black racism on many occasions. This is well documented. Look in the CBC, look in the Globe, there's studies, there's research, there's data. United Nations has even recognized the anti-Black racism in Canada. This is from the UN now. So it's an internationally recognized phenomenon. No one can deny it. So emotionally, how do we support people like Black people who go through this so much? Let's just lead with compassion. Let's just try to be understanding. Let's try not to be so abrasive. White people, don't take things personally and internalize. If you're working with a Black person, wherever you might be working with her, and she gets angry or something, don't suddenly think she's an angry Black woman. Yeah. Or even if she's not angry, because I worked in a professional context and I was not angry because I rarely anger, or I take a lot to anger, but still that stereotype of angry Black woman was imposed on me. So this is very sad, this hostility. So the emotional or the social support is to lead with compassion. And I'll hand it back to you,
Okay, I am going to hand it over. There are some great questions in the chat. I want to make sure that we get to them before our time is up today. So let's see here. Bear with me for a minute, folks, while I just scroll up. Okay, we have a question from Binta, who is asking, what age group or grade would you recommend to read this book?
Okay, so age group or grade, I would say middle school and high school.
Okay.
Yeah, you can begin as early as grade 7 to grade 12, I would say.
Okay. Oh, wow, this is great. Thanks, folks. I love seeing these coming in here. How can other people of color, particularly Asians and brown people in the community, support Black students? So how can other people of color, particularly Asians and brown people, support Black students? Can you hear me? I think we need to unmute you.
Yeah, it was unmuting. Okay.
Okay.
So you can hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay, good. Other people of color. Oh, hi, Zahira. Thank you. And Auntie Rugi, everyone. All right.
This is nice.
So learning, education, as I know you, Zahira, you do a lot. As much as possible, encourage other brown people to just read, just to learn. And if they don't like reading, they can watch YouTube videos or listen to podcasts. But learning is really good, that's what I would say. Learning and then leading with compassion. Other immigrants or other people of color often have this idea of Black people, just all those negative ideas that I spoke of earlier, especially because in so many countries, let's keep it real, across the world, in Asia as well, Black people, they're at the lowest of the social hierarchies. Everywhere in the world, Black people, say in India or in Bangladesh, they too are at the, at the bottom of the social hierarchies. So then it doesn't help even when people from those countries migrate here and then they meet Black people from the West Indies, from Africa, so forth. That image persists. So I would just say, Zahira, compassion and learning.
That's great. Thank you. I think you've covered a bit of this, but it's slightly different. From Lacey was asking, what advice would you give school divisions to better support Black students? So I guess this would be maybe a higher level than, your fellow students.
School divisions.
So I guess like school boards, like.
Oh, okay. It would be what I said about the training. It has to be so critical. So what's the word? We kind of need complete. Yeah, the educational system needs a lot of work, but let's say to really support Black students, there needs to be a critical examination of the curriculum, of the social culture in the school, of teachers' attitudes. That's why I say teacher training and anti-racism training, and bring in an expert, a consultant, and pay that person well, the same way you would, I don't know, a behavioral or an organizational strategy person. You'd pay that person very well. Pay this anti-Black racism consultant very well to work with staff and administrators over a long period to really change things. Because you see, the whole thing about tools and supports, it's been happening for a long time, and we get little success stories here and there, but nothing major, nothing transformational. They put Black student support workers in some schools. Maybe they'll offer funding for Black students in this high school to go to a conference at a university, like an empowerment conference or something like that. Okay, great, but it's not too critical if everyone kind of catches my drift here.
Yep.
So yeah, it's really has to start, I think, by solid teacher training.
And clearly you want to see that depth of information sort of permeate through, right? And not just a pamphlet.
Exactly.
A couple more questions coming in here. Let's see here. These two are sort of similar. One's from Ryan Anderson and the other one is from Fatou Seka. What advice would you give young people who are experiencing any form of bullying or discrimination?
Wow, young people who are experiencing bullying are, this one is so sad. It's so hard. As cliche as this sounds, just, oh, I was going to say cliche as this sounds, try to be strong, but I have another proposal, which is try to find something that is bigger than yourself. When I was in high school, what really helped me was I was developing my nonprofit organization at the time. I was developing a passion for maternal health in Africa, obstetric fistula to be more specific. And it was so exciting. I was learning so much about maternal health in Africa. I was connecting with doctors and activists around the world. It was something that allowed me to thrive outside of school. So I would say to that young person, try to find what you like, what you're good at, what you're passionate about. It could be a dance class, it could be a soccer club, but just something outside of school that you have for yourself, that is yourself, that is yours, that's bigger than you are. That's what I would say.
Wonderful. And I think we've got time for one more. This one's from Adiat, who is asking, what are you hoping young people will take away from reading your book?
I hope they'll take away courage. Yeah, courage and possibility, that there's hope. Even when you feel so down, so depressed, there's hope. High school, it can seem so tough and challenging, especially 4 years. When you're in it, going through the 4 years, it's kind of a lot and it's kind of long. But once you're out, you're like, whew, thank God that's done. And then it'll be done, because time moves quickly. So as much as it might seem slow while you're in, just try to see the bigger picture. That's what I would say.
Okay, that's very good advice. We're coming up on time, but I do want to know, what is next for you? What comes, this book is out. I know you're going to do some more events and spread the word, but do you have another book inside you? What are you planning?
I have a novel and I'm very excited about this. Please, no one ask when it's coming out, who's publishing it. I have no clue, but it's just a novel I'm working on, and I just love it because it's creative. It's fiction. This is nonfiction, this piece, but if people don't know, I really love fiction. I love fiction so much because, it represents possibility, and it's also a reflection of life, right? So I'm quietly working away on my novel.
Oh, very, very excited for you. That is great. I promise no follow-up questions about when, who's publishing it or anything like that, but I definitely look forward to seeing it. We've just got a few minutes left, so I feel like I would just want to wrap up with a couple of things to say. First of all, congratulations again. Thank you so much. This book, I really wish I'd had it 25 years ago when I was in school. But some of the same things that are happening to students in school are still happening to grownups in the workplace, the Black grownups in the workplace all over the world. So I'm going to carry it with me. Congratulations again. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your compassion and your warm thoughts and good energy. I'd like to remind everybody again, this book is called Black in School. Please buy it from your local bookseller. You can buy it from a different Booklist, a great Black bookstore here in Toronto. Tell all your friends, put them in little tiny free libraries on your street if you've bought a bunch of copies as well. Any parting words that you would like to finish off with, Habiba? Give you the final say.
Thank you so much, Bianca. This was wonderful. I love the dynamic we had going between ourselves. You did an excellent job, I think, of just pulling out what people need to know about this story. You've done a great job of that. My mom, again, can't thank her enough. My sister, Lami, my whole family. And then, a lot of people from Halifax I see on the call. There's Auntie Fatima. I see her right now. So, and she's someone who's just poured so much love into me throughout the years and poured so much love into all my projects. So to everyone who's just been there. You know, this has truly been a labor of love, and I don't want to keep you guys for much longer, but I just have to say how honored I am and how grateful I am that God has really given me the opportunity to publish this book. This is phenomenal. And, you know, it hasn't been easy. It's still not easy. I'm still a young Black woman going through the world, and it comes with so many struggles on a day-to-day, you know, mental health, all kinds of things. And, you know, we talked about self-esteem earlier, and I know so many people of color, Black people, Black women, we have a lot of imposter syndrome as we set out in the world and to, like, you know, just attack and achieve our dreams. It's not easy. So to everyone else and to all my friends I see on the call, you know, girls, guys, everyone, just, you know, don't worry, just have hope. I tell myself the same thing every day. I need to hear those messages on a daily basis as much as I shared with you. So thanks everyone for making this evening so special for me.
I would encourage everybody who wants to turn on their cameras again. Another round of applause for the Women of the Hour. Congratulations. We wish you every success going forward. You are a marvel. So I'm not sure who I need to turn this over to. I have a feeling that I probably have to turn it back over to your publisher.
Okay.
Sorry, and the publisher needs to find the mute button.
There we go.
Thank you so much, both Bianca and Habiba. Habiba, the work that you've put into this book is immense, and you have so many accomplishments in such a short period of time. There's so much more awaiting you too in life, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your perspective, your voice, and this is a book that I will be buying for my children and for my nephews, and it's a wonderful contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Elsa. Thanks, everyone.
Right. Thank you very much. Good night.
Good
Good night,
night.
all.